are listening to the most comprehensive paranormal archive on the internet.
Welcome to Salsido Paranormal. I'm your host, James Salsido, and tonight I'm continuing my series, Review, The Book of the Damned by Charles Fort. As always, you can find all episodes of the show along with links to social media, ways to listen, and ways to support the show at the website. And that is salsidoparanormal.com. That's SALSIDO paranormal.com. And support is never expected but always appreciated, as there are expenses in making these shows. There are many ways to support the show. You can share the show with others and rate and review it on your favorite podcast platforms. You can sign up for the Patreon feed and get all the extra content there for as little as $1 a month. And you can also check out the merchandise store and get all kinds of shirts and a few other items there with designs made by friends of the show. And also you can always check out and go donate through PayPal as well if you wish to. Also, please follow friends of the show. That would be Jen, the Arcane Observer, who has her own channel and is the co-host of the show on Saturdays whenever she's able to join me. Also, Ricky of the Anything Is Possible podcast, who does a paranormal-themed show on Sundays that I co-host. And, of course, Michael Strange, host of Troubled Minds Radio, which I frequently sit in on and co-host there as well. And the Troubled Minds, if I could talk, radio network, KUAP, digital broadcasting, where you can hear all kinds of amazing shows, as well as my own, online 24/7 for free. So a couple of things I always like to mention before we get started with this, or get going again with this reading of this book here, is that Charles Fort may say some things and in his writing here that you and or I do not agree with, so I apologize for that in advance. That will happen. Also, what's the second thing here? Oh, that was it. There we go. Brain finally got it. Please be aware that there will be things that he may talk about as being mysterious at the time that he wrote these books that are not so mysterious anymore due to scientific advancements and all those things, and about 100 years of time in between when these were written and the present day. And then also, last but not least, I apologize in advance for any words and or names I mispronounce, because words are hard, and not all of the names in this book are even in English. So, with that, we can get to the reading here. So this next paragraph starts. Intermediatism, then, is recognition that... Wait, no, that's not the paragraph. I was skipping a whole big paragraph. Hang on here. Sorry about that. Okay. What it really says is, but if positivism attract you, go ahead and try. You will be in harmony with cosmic endeavor, but continuity will resist you. Only to have appearance in quasiness is to be proportionately positive. But beyond a degree of attempted positivism, continuity will rise to pull you back. Success, as it is called, though there is only success failure in intermediateness, will in intermediateness be yours proportionately as you are in adjustment with its own state, or some positivism mixed with compromise and retreat. To be very positive is to be a Napoleon Bonaparte against whom the rest of civilization will sooner or later combine. For interesting data, see newspaper accounts of of fate of one Dowie, Chicago. Intermediatism, then, is recognition that our state is only a quasi-state. It is no bar to one who desires to be positive. It is recognition that he cannot be positive and remain in a state that is positive negative, or that a great positivist with no with no system to support him will be crucified or will starve to death or will be put in jail and beaten to death. That these are the birth pangs of translation to the positive absolute. So, though positive negative myself, I feel the attraction of the positive pole of our intermediate state and attempt to correlate these three data. These are talked about in the previous episode there. To see them homogeneously, to think that they relate to one object. In the aeronautic journals and in the London Times, there is no mention of escaped balloons in the summer or fall of 1898. In the New York Times, there is no mention of ballooning in Canada or the United States in the summer of 1898. London Times, September 29th, 1885. A clipping from the Royal Gazette of Bermuda of September 8th, 1885, sent to the Times by General Lefroy, that upon August 27th, 1885, at about 8:30 a.m., there was observed by Mrs. Adelina D. Bassett, I'm not sure, in quotation marks, a strange object in the clouds coming from the north, in quotation marks. She called the attention of Mrs. L. Lowell to it, and they were both somewhat alarmed. However, they continued to watch the object steadily for some time. It drew nearer. It was of triangular shape and seemed to be about excuse me, the size of a pilot boat mainsail, with chains attached to the bottom of it. While crossing the land, it had appeared to descend, but as it went out to sea, it ascended and continued to ascend until it was lost to sight high in the clouds. Or with such power to ascend, I don't think much myself of the notion that it was an escaped balloon, partly deflated. Nevertheless, General Lefroy, correlating with exclusionism, attempts to give a terrestrial interpretation to this occurrence. He argues that the thing may have been a balloon that had escaped from France or England, or the only aerial thing of terrestrial origin that, even to this date, of about 35 years later, has been thought to have crossed the Atlantic Ocean. He accounts for the triangular form by deflation, in quotation marks, a shapeless bag, barely able to float, in quotation marks. My own acceptance is that great deflation does not accord with observations, upon its power to ascend. Yeah, it doesn't make a ton of sense, I don't think. In the Times, October 1, 1885, Charles Harding of the Royal Meteorological Society, I'm guessing, RMS, argues that if it had been a balloon from Europe, surely it would have been seen and reported by many vessels. Whether he was as good a Briton as the general or not, he shows awareness of the United States, or that the thing may have been a partly collapsed balloon that had escaped from the United States. General Lefroy wrote to Nature about it, that's publication, Nature 33-99, saying whatever his sensitivenesses may have been, that the columns of the Times were, in quotation marks, hardly suitable, in quotation marks, for such a discussion. Wow, so just putting that publication down. If in the past there had been more persons like General Lefroy, we'd have better than the mere fragments of data that in most cases are too broken up very well to piece together. He took the trouble to write to a friend of his, W.H. Gosling of Bermuda, who also was an extraordinary an extraordinary person. He went to the trouble of interviewing Mrs. Bassett and Mrs. Lowell. Their description to him was somewhat different. An object from which nets were suspended. Deflated balloon with its network hanging from it. A super dragnet. That something was trawling overhead. The birds of Baton Rouge. Mr. Gosling wrote that the item of chains, or a suggestion of a basket that had been attached, had originated with Mr. Bassett, who had not seen the object. Mr. Gosling mentioned a balloon that had escaped from Paris in July. He tells of a balloon that fell in Chicago, September 17th, or 3 weeks later than the Bermuda object. It's one incredibility against another, with disregards and convictions governed by whichever of the two dominants looms strongest in each reader's mind, that he can't think for himself any more than I can is understood. My own correlates. I think that we're fished for. It may be that we're highly esteemed by super epicures somewhere. It makes me more cheerful when I think that we may be of some use after all. I think that dragnets have often come down and have been mistaken for whirlwinds and waterspouts. Some accounts of seeming structure in whirlwinds and waterspouts are astonishing, and I have data that, in this book, I can't take up at all. Mysterious disappearances. Excuse me. I think we're fished for, But this is a little expression on the side. Relates to trespassers. Has nothing to do with the subject that I shall take up at some other time, or are used to some other mode of seeming that has a legal right to us. Nature 33-137. in quotation marks. Our Paris correspondent writes that in relation to the balloon, which is said to have been seen over Bermuda in September, no ascent took place in France, which can account for it, end quotation marks. Last of August, not September. In the London Times, there is no mention of balloon ascents in Great Britain in the summer of 1885, but mention of 2 ascents in France. Both balloons had escaped. In, I'm not sure how to say that one, in August 1885, it is said that these balloons had been sent up from feats of the 14th of July, 44 days before the observation at Bermuda. The aeronauts were Gower and Eloy. Gower's balloon was found floating on the ocean, but Eloy's balloon was not found. Upon the 17th of July, it was reported by a sea captain still in the air, still inflated. But this balloon of Eloy's was a small exhibition balloon made for short ascents from feats and fairgrounds. In Nature, 1885-2-131, it is said that it was a very small balloon, incapable of remaining long in the air. As to the contemporaneous ballooning in the United States, I find only one account. An ascent in Connecticut, July 29th, 1885. Upon leaving this balloon, the aeronauts had pulled the ripcord, turning it inside out. Those quotations there. New York Times, August 10th, 1885. To the intermediatist, the accusation of anthropomorphizing anthropomorphism is meaningless. There is nothing in anything that is unique or positively different. We'd be materialists were it not quite as rational to express the material in terms of the immaterial as to express the immaterial in terms of the material. Oneness of allness in quasiness. I will engage to write the formula of any novel in psychochemic terms, or draw its graph in psychomechanic terms, or write in romantic terms the circumstances and sequences of any chemic or electric or magnetic reaction, or express any historic event in algebraic terms, or see Boole and Jevons for economic situations expressed algebraically. I'm glad they didn't go too deep into math. That would not have been good. I think of the dominants as I think of persons, not meaning that they are real persons, not meaning we are real persons, or the old dominant and its jealousy and its suppression of all things and thoughts that endangered its supremacy. In reading discussions of papers by scientific societies, I have often noted how, when they approached forbidden or irreconcilable subjects, the discussions were thrown into confusion, and ramification. It's as if scientific discussions have often been led astray, as if purposefully, as if by something directive hovering over them. Of course, I mean only the spirit of all development. Just so, in any embryo, cells that would tend to vary from the appearances of their era are compelled to correlate. In Nature 90-169, Charles Tilden Smith writes that at Kisbury, I'm not sure, Wiltshire, England, April 8th, 1912, he saw something in the sky, in quotation marks, unlike anything that I had ever seen before. Although I have studied the skies for many years, I have never seen anything like it. In quotation marks. He saw two stationary dark patches upon the clouds. The extraordinary part, they were stationary upon clouds that were rapidly moving. They were fan-shaped or triangular and varied in size, but kept the same position upon different clouds as cloud after cloud came along. For more than half an hour, Mr. Smith watched these dark patches. His impression as to the one that appeared first, that it was, in quotation marks, really a heavy shadow cast upon a thin veil of clouds by some unseen object away in the west, which was intercepting the sun's rays, end quotation marks. This next paragraph goes all the way to the bottom of the page. And it keeps on going, apparently. So there's not going to be time to finish this, and I hate to start it. It's funny, though. Triangle-shaped anomalies in the sky. Where have we heard that before? It's a common UAP shape in recent decades. So now, of course, here, this is at the very beginning of any kind of manned or even unmanned, in a way, larger objects, airborne objects made by people. If I could come up with the words, that'd be good. But it's triangular, and these triangular shadows are really fascinating. I'm really looking forward to next time we get back into this, because this is a fascinating thing here that is being covered. And again, this is not the present day. This is in the late 1800s, early 1900s, these triangular objects. And I don't know, it's just amazing how we keep on coming up on these reports of these things, different things that seem to be similar in ways, one way or another, to current and more modern accounts of experiences people have had, sightings people have had of things in the sky. But that is all the time we have for this episode. Thank you all for listening, and I will talk to you all next time on Salsido Paranormal. Take care.